All right. Florida State was no way going to lose game number two, regardless of who they played. Well, I guess through three quarters, even with Samford on the field, we started to scratch our heads. We got James Coleman on the line talking Florida State football. You can join James at Sports Den Live. That's his podcast. And also Gridiron Now. And James, you've got another gig going that I was unaware of. So you got to let us know because you're not dressing up just for me. I should have known better, but you're dressing up for.
Yeah, I just got done doing the news. I'm a sports analyst for First Coast News here in Jacksonville, Florida. I provide college analysis and pro analysis. Just a little different perspective. Our sports director Chris Porter is amazing, but he always looks for opportunities to give different perspectives, kind of like you.
So that's good to know. I'm in good company. With the NFL, people don't realize I love the NFL just about as much as college football. So Jags Patriots, obviously, this big rematch of the comeback in the fourth quarter of the AFC Championship game. So give us a little nugget of something we should look out for in the big game coming up this week.
The key play loss to the Jaguars will be Leonard Fournette and his hamstring. If his hamstring is held up, then the Jaguars have a really good chance of winning. People like to blame Blake Bortles and like to talk bad about him. You can't judge the Jaguar offense in the same way you judge everybody else's offense. To me, a 5-minute offensive drive is just as good as that's how good they are. Probably will go down as one of the better defenses in NFL history.
Yeah, pretty rock solid. No question about that. And gave the Patriots fits for almost the entire game. Actually, it was
Yeah,
funny because I was just telling somebody um, it's not really a story, but just a memory I had from that game in that this win probability drives me crazy because I don't think it makes much sense. I know a lot of people smarter than I have put a lot of investment into these win probabilities and how that's supposed to go based on the game situation. But I was just curious because of the Aaron Rodgers comeback against the Packers, what the win probability was at 20-0. And then I remember I was having this conversation with somebody at work. This was just today. And I said, you know what? I'm watching the Patriots Jags AFC Championship game last year. There's 10 minutes left, an eternity in an NFL game, especially, and especially on the road at New England. Brady with the ball and the plenty of possessions left in the game, and the Jags were like a 97% win probability at that point. It just, that was my last call on that whole win probability making a whole lot of sense. It was a little heavy for me at like 97%. But
yeah,
anyway,
that stuff like win probability doesn't account for human will. So the only people I trust in Vegas, they seem to always the house always seems to win. So, but other than that, um, there's too many things that you couldn't account for, which is one of the biggest things is the ref and Miles Jack wasn't down, so that's
oh yeah,
wrong.
that's right.
So
I
that's
forgot
how.
about that one. Well, despite how Vegas never loses, basically, James, there's still some of us out there that still try to get one up on Vegas, and I keep trying. Let's focus on Florida State because regardless of what the game situation was, I know at one point it was Samford 23-14 sometime in the third quarter. And even if the win probability for Samford at that point was 1%, that's a whole lot higher than any of us thought it was when the game started. And it turned out to be a close one for the Noles. They come back and they win by 10. So what kind of assessment do you come out with that game? Because a lot of us that never played or never played at that level just think, okay, Florida State can turn on a switch whenever it wants, regardless of who's on the field for Samford, and they should be fine. How much truth is there to that whole flip the switch business?
Well, I mean, there is some, and you saw it in the last drive, the last half of the fourth quarter. FSU flipped the switch, and by just really pure talent, won that game. Uh, I wrote in the article, the best team didn't win that game, and that's me being truthful. the better athletes won that game, but the best team was Sanford. And what people have to do is stop coupling all FCS schools in the same sentence. So what I mean, and we should have learned this from, what was it, back in 2006 when App State
Oh
defeated Michigan?
seven. Yep.
07? That really like should have opened all of our eyes that the top maybe 10, top 15 FCS schools are probably better than the bottom 50 FBS. And at any given moment, if they can strike while hot, they can pull an upset over a traditional power that is sleepwalking. So what I can do is I can give you the perspective of a guy who's played in that Labor Day matchup. So we played in 2005. A lot of emotion went into that. We spent the entire offseason worried about playing Miami. We had lost 5 in a row to Miami, 4 of which were very close in the last minute. It's a rivalry game. ACC implications were on the line. Pride, guys that you worked out with, went to school with. So a lot of things like that. So we won, and then you forget we had Citadel that next week. So it's kind of like, yeah, they're just Citadel, whatever. Interesting blocking scheme, different things like that. But we figure we do what we're supposed to do, we'll blow them out. But if fans in 2005 remember, Citadel actually went into halftime beating us. I want to say it was 13-10. Now we ended up winning the game 50-13. But the point is that we went and took some senior leadership. I was probably one of the guys who's a little bit upset. A couple other guys a little upset. And personal pride, when you come to these FCS schools, kind of comes into play. And it doesn't matter if the play calling isn't great. It's like you're not going to lose. That kid across from you would kill to be in your position. And are you going to embarrass yourself, those who played before you, and those who want to beat Seminoles after you by losing by having something like this be done that's never been done before? And I think that's kind of what Taggart's try to go back to with some of the tradition, but the brand has got to be protected. The integrity has got to be protected. It's not about wins and losses. It's about how you win and how you lose. And losing that game where you just get your ass straight up kicked by FCS school, granted talented. We found out, like, I thought this was the same old Sanford, but I forgot that Sanford almost did this to Mississippi State 2 years ago with the exact same quarterback, with similar numbers. Like, I also forgot that this was, I think it's Chris Hatcher. If you're from Tallahassee, if you're an FSU guy, you remember up those times, 2000, about 2006 seasons, up the road, Valdosta State was setting all kind of records. He was the head coach at Valdosta State, one of the premier guys in implementing the spread. So they had that, and they got some defensive players, but I'm not here to make excuses. Sanford probably should have won, and FSU played like crap. And Taggart has got to get that under control. And from what I is, he's starting to, how you get that under control? These old guys who are stuck in old ways, that aren't buying in, that aren't blocking, that aren't giving it 100%. You take them out and you put in some young guys that want to play on every aspect of the game, and you start holding your coaches accountable. Alonzo Hampton and the special teams have no idea what the hell is going on with this. We're not even touching the guy when it comes down to your bullets and your gunners on punt return. And there was one play where they showed there were 3 guys who just who did not identify anybody and did not block a soul on punt return. And again, this is just stuff that's unbecoming of Seminoles. I'd rather lose by being out coached and just a better talented team than lose because you got pumped. And that's kind of what's happened the last 2 weeks. That's the real raw assessment. And then also this DeAndre Francois is not the DeAndre Francois of 2016. I don't know where that DeAndre Francois is, but that kid won games with his legs. He has yet. He started to do that in the Sanford game, and you started to see things going. But that was Virginia Tech all over again. Simple football, whether it's you're in the new age where it's the zone read or the RPO, or you're a little bit older like me, and I'm sure when you were coming up with football, Mark, they had the veer. If the end crashes, you pull. And I don't know what's going on with DeAndre, but he's just watching that end crash and he's sacrificing the running back. Like if I were the running back, I would probably punch him in the face because he's got me lit up more times than not. But with all jokes aside, pulls and he's like he should have had 75 yards rushing in the first quarter just by pulls alone. It sets up everything else that you're trying to do.
That is the raw take. It's good to hear from James Coleman, Gridiron Now. That's the reason we've got him on here because the unique take that I point out each and every week for those people that either haven't listened to me or haven't caught our conversations in the past. Loved the Seminoles growing up, rooted for them. Then he played for them 2002 to 2005, starting fullback, and now as a member of the media, analyzing college and pro football. So, wow, we got a Syracuse situation, and we talk about win probabilities and how much they don't mean. But I was interested to see as I was pulling up the orange statistics that whatever power index here on ESPN.com is giving them a 57% chance of beating Florida State at home. Of course, they put up two big numbers against a lesser competition, against a MAC school and an FCS in the first 2 weeks. But we got our first ACC game for Syracuse, of course, the first road game for Florida State. So what's different about going on the road based on your experience in playing in a major conference?
Well, the Carrier Dome is a tough place to play, and Syracuse has always played as tough there. Not always, but there's been times they played us again. 2004, we came out of there 24-17 with a much more talented team. Jimbo, I want to say 2 years ago, had a tough. No, I think that was at home. I think it was Coach Dino Barber's first year, I believe. Played them pretty tough, and people want to say, "Oh, Syracuse, oh, it's Syracuse." Well, we remember Syracuse almost knocked Clemson out of playoff contention. So Syracuse knows how to play. They play a very up-tempo, aggressive type of offense, and they're a scrappy bunch. What FSU has got to do is you can't let this team punch you in the mouth. Virginia Tech and like what Sanford has done, you've got to come out the gate swinging. And what needs to happen is, and I think it's more of a Coach Barnett's comfort level, and it works because he makes the adjustment. But in the Big Ten, outside of when you play maybe your Ohio State, your Penn States, you're able to sit back and play a little bit. It's more run heavy still, as well as throwing it. But in ACC, we're coming out slinging that bad boy. So what you got to do is when you have athletic corners and specialty, you got to go ahead and play press man like we've known to do, and bring the pressure to the quarterback and make that offensive coordinator earn his money. Don't sit back on your heels and try to read and develop defensive, make the job tougher for the defensive line. Offensively, we've got to see something more vertical, and that's kind of what you got to do on the road.
So we got James Coleman on the line from Gridiron Now, who just wrapped up some analysis for a local TV station there. Well, I think we got you, James. Go ahead.
Here?
Yeah, I think we got you back.
All right. Yeah, bottom line is when you get on the road, you got to knock the wind out of the
Hey, James, you with us? I think we lost.
Nah, I think
James, you with us?
I got the problem solved. It's Wi-Fi. Got to use my.
Okay.
I got to use my cell phone. Carrier. But yeah, but bottom line is you got to go up there, knock the wind out of the opponent, and knock it out of their fan base. The Carrier Dome's a small place, but it gets pretty loud. And again, this is a team that, like I said, has beat Clemson. has played FSU tough, and you can't sit back and just wait. You got to actually take the fight to the opponent.
So, yeah, last year's game was Florida State winning at home against Syracuse 27-24. As James mentions, of course, Syracuse had the infamous Friday night win over Clemson, the Tigers' only loss of the season. Then 2 years ago, they actually beat Virginia Tech up there when the Hokies were ranked. So they seem to have that one game a year where they just explode on somebody. That's happened the last 2 years. Eric Dungy, one of the more respected quarterbacks in the ACC, a kid that can make some plays with his legs and his arm, has hit on 61% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, obviously not facing the kind of athletes for the first 2 weeks, but he's done it in the past. His issue's been staying on the field past like the first week of November for this team. But if they can keep him going, they seem to have a puncher's chance in this one.
Yeah, quarterback play is the key to um, college football right now. If you've got a good quarterback or a quarterback that can limit turnovers and that can control your offense, you're going to have some success. And Syracuse obviously has a guy that's got some leadership. Like you said, he's not been able to be healthy, but he understands how to play the game and how to win. FSU has got to come out and go in there again, and they've got to knock him around. Really, what's got to happen is you've got this young man, Brian Burns, who has every skill set that you want in a first round defender, but has not played to the ability or the level of a first round defender in the first 2 games of this season. He should probably have at least 5 sacks at this point, and everybody in the nation should know who he is, but he hasn't. And also, Levante Taylor has got to go reach back into his memory bank and remember the guy who had, I think, averaged 30 yards a game on him as receivers average 30 yards a game. He had no touchdowns given up. Right now, he's a walking highlight reel. So it's not that he lacks the skill. It's just that somewhere, I don't know if they read their press clippings or if they just forgot how to play football, but I equated it to one of my favorite movies, Space Jam. When the Monstars came down and they took all the really good people's skill sets, that's what FSU's top players look like right now. Like, they have the frame. You can tell that they're actually good players, or they were good players at one point in their life. But right now, they're playing like shells of themselves. So they got to get that fixed if FSU is going to break the new prediction. Like right now, I saw some BS thing that said FSU should only win 4 games. They're only favored in 2 more or something like that. But I'm not the standard that I set for Willie Taggart, regardless of if the offensive line is trash or not, is 9 wins. And if he doesn't win, I'm holding him accountable to the 9 wins. But I believe that the skill level is so talented, and if he's a good coach, he'll make some tweaks. And if Harlan Barnett's a good defensive coordinator, they'll make some tweaks, and then FSU should be fine. It could be an explosion of points game. Because you've also seen Willie Taggart be able to destroy Syracuse as a coach in his 2 times in South Florida again with this coaching staff. So there may be something to be said about it. Different team, different set of circumstances also, but we shall see.
For us to talk up some Space Jam, I'd have to flag down my boy, my 21-year-old son, because that was one of his faves growing up. But I was typically on the couch, like dozing off so I got no recollection, even though I probably sat through the thing like 50 times. But yeah, that was one of the ones from way back. Brian Burns. So my thought here, and James, you correct me, that for him to take his skill level to the next level and be successful, he probably has to have 3 or 4 moves off the edge. But right now, like one is sufficient. He's so good.
Yes.
So it's not even like he needs to develop. Maybe it would help, obviously, but that he needs to be that technically sound yet, and he could still be dominant.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's an underclassman. A lot of times people, like, looking from an NFL perspective, they're going to see the potential. His ceiling is through the roof. That's what they're going to look at. But his speed, you got to have a speed rush, got to have a bull rush, and then you got to have a go-to move. But right now, none of it's working. So I mean, he's got to find something that can consistently get him to the backfield. And the scary part is he's yet to play an NFL caliber tackle yet. So I don't think Syracuse really has that guy either. But he's got to start getting some film to where people have to have something to fear, and he does have that skill set and to be able to do all the things.
Well, we've got a guy on here on the live chat, Savage Dogs, who's given you 3 or 4 conference wins. Well, the team did only win 3 and 5 in the ACC last year.
I mean, 3 or 4. That's better, like you said. You know, I want to judge it. I can only judge it based upon what we see right now. And if they only get 3 conference wins, if they don't go 5, I guess 5 and 3 in conference, we'll probably be you'll see people very disappointed, and you'll see a guy be on the hot seat year 2. So he's got to get to that 9-win mark. He gets to that 9-win mark, not only will he have some comfort, but you'll also see you'll see them with a top 5, maybe top 3 recruiting class, because people will now see the vision and will buy into it.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking to Florida State. The Noles travel to Syracuse, New York to take on the Orange coming up this Saturday. Of course, they escaped Samford 36-26 after losing by 12 points in the second half. We got James Coleman on the line from Gridiron Now. Also join him on his podcast, Sports Den Live. So the easiest way to do both is just to follow James on Twitter at Big Game James 36, Big Game James 36. And you can find him right there. He's just coming back from some analysis on the Jacksonville Jaguars big game against New England coming up this Sunday. Is that game in Jacksonville?
Yes, it is. The city's going to be bumping.
Oh, that's right. You said that off the top. That's right. Excellent stuff. So, again, join James on Twitter. It's good stuff, great analysis. So we get him on here as much as we possibly can to break down Florida State. And with the ACC season getting into full gear here soon, we will definitely have some more conversations with James. I'm going to stay on the line to take any phone calls that you have. I'll let James enjoy the rest of his night. All right, Big Game. We appreciate it.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Big Game James Coleman, 36. So it's Big Game James 36 on Twitter. And of course, this is Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And we just have a few people on the line right now, but I will take phone calls, 860-325-3687. And then also understand that regardless, at 8:30 Eastern time, we've got Steve Hellwagon from Bucknuts coming on to prep Ohio State TCU. So we've got a big preview, Ohio State TCU, 8:30 tonight with Steve Hellwagon. Then at 9:30, another Steve Hellwick, not to be mistaken with Hellwagon, Steve Hellwick from the University of Texas TV station there, and also Hustle Belt, and also the Daily Texan joins us to prep Texas's effort at home against USC. And then at 10:30 Eastern time, we get the USC perspective from inside the ACC and Mr. Scott Wolf. So it's Ohio State talk at 8:30 Eastern, Texas at 9:30, then USC at 10:30 right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And I will take some phone calls if you guys have anything on your mind concerning college football. If not, we're good to go for, again, 8:30 Ohio State, 9:30 Texas, 10:30 USC. Those are all Eastern time. Subscribe to my newsletter, The Voice of College Football, right here at Mark Rogers TV. Just send your email to markrogerstv@gmail.com. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you like the videos that you've watched, you can also share those with your friends, your family, whomever that may enjoy the videos as well. If you have any suggestions, and I certainly am mulling this over, believe me, from day to day in regards to how to improve the content, put content out there that people will love. And we're constantly at least tweaking that up here, even though it's not necessarily evident to all of you, but thinking about how I can make the channel much, much better. 860-325-3687. I'm going to get off in just a minute if there's no phone calls, and we will see you in just about 40 minutes with, let's see, just about a half hour. 8:30 Eastern time, Steve Hellwagon from Bucknuts to talk Ohio State and TCU. We will get the TCU perspective. Hopefully, I have asked two particular writers that we've had on in the past to talk TCU football, and maybe Claire Crawford will join us sometime this week as well to talk up the Buckeyes and TCU. USC, Texas, we've got both perspectives coming up at 9:30 Eastern time from the Texas perspective, and Steve Hellwig from Hustle Belt and the Daily Texan, and then Inside USC with Scott Wolf at 10:30 Eastern time. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We will see you in about a half hour with a new link, Ohio State football talk.